never
but
did
you were very hard.
Well, I say,
I can't get that microphone much closer unless.
I know, but you were the hardest one to hear.
I've heard
Yeah.
him and Jordan are both very quiet talkers, and
Yeah.
I've gotten complaints, and so I watch to make sure they turn on their microphones.
Yeah.
For the record, my wife says that all of us need a microphone client. That it's extremely hard.
Yeah.
So,
When I
yeah,
was,
so take that in, so everybody speak into your microphones tonight, make sure your things are on.
Jeanette,
I don't have a system that tells me.
I know that we don't have a lot of couches in the city, but do we need to look at money? Because Jeremy doesn't have Zoom, so.
I'm like, but I told Stacy, I do apologize, I apologize to Bill for my clunky introduction, because it was like, I was thinking about that, Stacy called me, and I'm like, what's his name again? I can't remember. So I
You know
was
better
like,
than I would.
a lot of things was going on at that moment. But, I said, Steve, you gotta get off of there. He's like, what? I'm like, you gotta get off. I'm sorry, we'll take care of
The
it.
city council meetings are under reoccurring,
Yeah,
so he didn't see a meeting schedule,
yeah,
so normally he's really good about that.
yeah. But I told him, we will get this figured out. You guys
Yeah.
will have your own license, because this is ridiculous. And so he's like, okay, thank
He's
you and all.
the only one that actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
but they need a license, and we're gonna get them. I have a separate license. No, I don't have a separate license. Can you see my read for anything?
No, I did not.
Then I might have it.
It's really easy to go in.
This
Yeah.
is a Bryce compilation.
Yeah,
I did a, yeah.
I'm pretty sure, we will get this
I was
done.
just- I was
That's ridiculous.
I was just chuckling. So much cheaper than.
Oh, yeah,
I was-
for sure.
I don't know if I ever told this story, but basically before, right, a couple months before COVID, I'm driving too much, my staff driving too much, we need fun, so I actually want to live like that. So I haven't really had a chance to do it. COVID hit, and it was so great.
That you
Zoom was so backed up, and so
Yeah.
hid,
Yeah.
I actually had them. Boy, did I look smart.
That
By
you
having,
had them.
because I bought a box,
Yeah.
I think the super government thing is like, here's mine.
What is big going? So more and more people.
I'm gonna say switched, my company, we started with Zoom, and then we switched to Teams.
Yeah.
And we also switched, we had Microsoft Teams, but
Right.
all of them have it. I would say I like it better, but I would say Zoom and not. External people or citizens, they much easier.
Okay.
So if you're like talking to professional people, should weigh in on the majority. If you're talking to professional people, they know how to use Microsoft, but citizens,
Okay.
this is easy.
That's
Teams
good
is
to know.
amazing for internal collaboration
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it has all these different channels, like
Yeah.
text collaboration, notes,
Right.
share files
Right.
within the city. But I highly recommend it. As far as meetings are placed for Zoom.
Okay.
Everyone.
Okay, okay. No, we have to wait for 365, and I was on 365 and for a week.
365 is amazing. For
It's
collaboration,
amazing.
it's very expensive in this stuff. It's like, we get it very cheap as an education solution, but
Yeah.
we have to pay for it twice.
Yeah. Yeah, and what we're doing is we're going to say we're not doing that.
So at least we actually use Teams
Yeah.
internally. And then we
And
use
sit
Zoom
out.
externally.
Yeah.
for developer work.
If we ever got there, that probably, because now so many people using, like you said, other organizations use Teams. But I'm like, yeah.
I was shocked the first I've had the information to a Teams meeting. It was like no one ever used it. Now it's starting to.
Yeah, it
I'm even
really
starting
is.
to see businesses use Teams.
Two.
We have $2,000 budget, right?
Yes, sir. Don't be crazy. No crazy.
You know, you need to be strict on that time. because There's no flights tomorrow, so I'm just saying.
I'm never the problem.
I've never been sick of a problem.
Hey,
I don't, I'm not saying anything.
I am going to,
I'm getting harassed on this, by this end of the table.
but then start slapping them upside the head.
Yes.
I got a nice 36-inch
Pain or something.
lead-filled baton at
There you
home.
go.
Could have. I'm gonna give you this, kind of a directory of different businesses and stuff.
I'll keep it.
And, you know, you can throw it away, do whatever you want.
sure, very. You're right, Bill, you should.
They're all. You know, it's basically 5%. River staff. That's right. We want to get there. That's how support. We have. We do. We share.
So that when we right before we start talking, another meeting, I'm like, I'm kidding, like, they didn't have something to do that.
Well, I don't like standing.
There's clear stuff that we have. So that's the majority.
I would like to call the February 25th, 2026 City Council regular meeting to order. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Carrie,
Present.
Chilson,
Present.
Hutchings. Here. Nelson,
Present.
Parker. Wackler. Present. Kincaid. Here. You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda? Mr. Carey,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda as presented.
a second, please. Thank you, Ms. Hutchings. Are there any changes to the? I'll go ahead.
Just a question, Mr. Mayor. If we wanted to consider suspending the normal rules and addressing, oh, someone's already on that?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Are there any changes to the agenda or consent agenda? Vice Mayor Parker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. First off, I would like to declare a conflict of interest on the cul-de-sac vacation in Action Memorandum 2026-004. I live immediately adjacent to this cul-de-sac that's being proposed for vacate.
Question to you, are you going to receive any property from that vacation?
No,
Then I do not see a conflict.
thank you. And secondly, I would like to move to suspend the rules in order to address new business agenda item 9.7, Action Memorandum 2026-006, determining the FY 26 Cycle 2 mini grant awards prior to agenda item 7, public hearings.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Chilson. Would the clerk please read the consent agenda? Oh, okay. Any objections to adding that, or making that change to the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, that change is made, by unanimous consent. Now, would the clerk please read the consent agenda?
February 11, 2026, regular council meeting minutes. Resolution 2026-006, urging the governor and legislature to approve a supplemental appropriation to meet the state match commitment for federal transportation funding for FY 2026, sponsored by Vice Mayor Parker and Mayor Whitney. Resolution 2026-007, urging the state legislature to reject proposals for a statewide sales tax, sponsored by Vice Mayor Parker and Mayor Whitney. Resolution 2026-008, authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds in the principal amount not to exceed $5 million to finance part of the cost of the construction of a field house at Soldotna Regional Sports Complex, sponsored by the city manager. Action Memorandum 2026-003, cancellation of March 11, 2026 regular council meeting. Action Memorandum 2026-004, petition to vacate a portion of the Bogey Court right-of-way and associated utility easements, sponsored by the city manager through the Economic Development and Planning Director. Action Memorandum 2026-005, request for an excused absence from the April 22, 2026 regular city council meeting. Vice Mayor Parker, that is your consent agenda.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on any of the items just read by the clerk? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on any of those items just discussed by the clerk? Seeing none, we'll take a look at Zoom. And then I see no hands raised there. Going on to the next, excuse me. Having no one wishing to speak, the approve of the agenda and consent agenda is back before the council. Any council objections to approving the agenda and consent agenda? Seeing and hearing none, the agenda and consent agenda are approved by unanimous consent. Next item on the agenda is a presentation with prior notice, and that will be the Project Homeless Connect by Ms. Gensel.
Thank you very much, Mayor Whitney. Kathy Gensel, and I reside at 340 Fairway Circle in Soldotna. I am the co-chair for Project Homeless Connect that we did this year. This was our 15th year, and a huge thank you to the city of Soldotna, to the field house. Oh my gosh, we thought this is a wonderful, so much more room. We ended up using both the field house and the conference rooms as well. So a huge thanks to Parks and Rec for everything that they did for us, as well as the Police Explorer Group did a great job, very professional young people. So we appreciate what they did for us. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and start the PowerPoint presentation. And again, so this is the Central Peninsula, Kenai, Soldotna Central area. We do have an event that takes place down in Homer that covers Homer and Anchor Point, as well as Seward did an event this year too. So, but we were, yeah, Johnny, you want me to tell you when to, okay, so you can go to the next slide. So our goals obviously are to connect people to services efficiently and effectively that would otherwise be difficult to access, build a more compassionate community, reduce stigma, and provide the annual data. Next slide, please. So in Alaska, a full-time worker must earn an hourly wage of $29.73 to afford the average fair market rent for a 2-bedroom rental apartment in the state. So this is kind of what we're up against, why we do Project Homeless Connect. You can go to the next slide, please. So we are actually told by Housing and Urban Development, by HUD, the date that we're going to do the point in time count. And it's actually a date that's set nationally So people say, why are you doing it in January? It's like, well, because that's the date that we were told we needed to do that. So what happens is as the day of the event, we ask, where did you sleep last night? And so that's, as we do the intake with the clients, that's the information that we put into the HMIS system, which feeds the data back to HUD. In turn, that helps money come back to our area. Next, please. So this year we had 111 participants, and of those 111 people, they actually represented 241. So it might have been one person that came in and there were actually, 4 people in the family. We had 43 vendors, 183 volunteers. 55% of those participants reported that this was the first time that they have attended the event. 80% stated they would use a cold weather emergency shelter if we had one available in the community. And as you know, we've been trying to come up with something like that, still working on it. We actually had a veterinarian there, and they helped out 24 dogs and 12 cats. Next slide, please. So as you can see, we had 54% were female, 45% were male. Those are the ages that were represented. 9% of those clients that came in were veterans. So when we asked the question, where did you sleep the night previous? 34% either were on the street, in a car, or in a shelter. 35% friends and family, and that would include what we call couch surfing. 22% were in an apartment or a house. But I don't think that they break down, is there running water? Is there heat? So it could be that, yes, they are in a cabin, but it's not habitable. Yes. And then the question too is how often have you been homeless in the last year? And so again, this is all information that we take at the intake, and then that data is passed along to HUD. So next slide. So reasons for homelessness, domestic violence, lack or loss of job, substance abuse, other, and those could be a lack of money, a house fire, a death in the family, they're disabled, or just the cost or the lack of housing that's available. And then we do ask, what was your last permanent address? So you can kind of see where the clients are from. And it's interesting to note that, because I think in the past people have said, where are people coming from other parts of the state here? And that's not necessarily true. 40% were from Soldotna, 29% Kenai, 9% Kasilof. And then you've kind of got everything else, including Washington, Oregon, Colorado, and Montana. So next slide, please. What people need, primary needs, food, employment, housing, money, transportation. Secondary needs are the rental and utility assistance, gas vouchers, vehicle repair, basic hygiene items, medical and dental, winter gear, access to showers and laundries. And then as we do, as the clients leave, we ask them to do an exit survey. And so part of those questions, are, was the event helpful? 99% said that it was, and 98% felt respected and supported. And so basically this shows over the years, the participants and the number of folks in the household. And it hasn't really changed dramatically. And I apologize because I'm not usually the one that's giving the report. I usually have, the folks that are in the trenches doing that. So, so I apologize for that. So go to next slide, please. Then it shows gender and disabilities. And that's been fairly even over the years. Next slide. Housing status, again, with friends and family, or emergency in a shelter, or in something that's not habitable. Next slide. Reason for homelessness this year, domestic violence has gone down. a bit. Loss of job maybe inched up just a little bit, and other, obviously is a lot more than it has been. So, and again, that could be loss of income, eviction, divorce, a death in the family, a house fire, whatever the circumstances were. And so this is pretty much just the data comparison over the years. Last year we saw 115 folks that represented 185 total. So this year we were at 111, and we actually think we probably had a few more than that because we had more exit surveys than we did intakes. And so we think what happened is instead of going to intake first in the conference rooms, they went to the field house and didn't get through that intake. And I think I want to say we had about 130 exit surveys. And so we're thinking we probably, missed about 20 folks. I mean, we tried our best to stand by the door, but I'm sure we probably missed a few. So next slide. Had just huge community support, as we always do. So thank you so much to our sponsors. Next slide. Yeah, that's about it. We do, as the clients leave, when they do the exit survey, each one of them or give them a backpack. Inside that backpack, oh gosh, we put garbage bags, we put toilet paper, personal items, snacks, and then each one of them receives a gift card for food. So, with the funds that come in, the donations that come in, we're able to purchase all of that stuff and give each client something to walk away with. And then, I think one of the groups this year gave away coats. Knights of Columbus gave away coats, and it was a huge number of coats, brand new. It was just gorgeous. I think we did somewhere close to 50 haircuts this year. And if you ever get a chance to come to Homeless Connect, spend some time and just sit outside and watch the difference between somebody going in and coming out with a brand new haircut and just the change that you'll see just in their overall, the way they feel, the way they walk. It's amazing to watch that. So thank you again to the city of Soldotna. We look forward to using the field house again next year. We've already talked with Parks and Rec and, thinking, okay, we'll try this next year and see how it works. So thank you so much. So if you have any questions, if I can answer them, I'd be more than happy to.
You also serve meals there for the.
We do. Yep. The food bank does meals. We have community folks that make pots of soup. And then we've got some of the churches that do like lasagna and stuff like that. So yeah, everybody gets breakfast and lunch.
Mr. Carey.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you for the whole team that you're a part of. And again, you're kind of that tip of that iceberg. I was interested in the statistics you had that for those this time, 55% of us are first time attending.
Mhm.
From that number, can you make any estimate? Is homelessness on the peninsula on the increase? If out of all those showed up, over half, it's the first time they ever, can we assume that next year there'll be again over half
Right.
timers?
Right, yeah. And that's kind of how it's been. It's always been a little bit more than half that this is their first time. So I don't know that the numbers are increasing because I think as new people come in, there's other people that are getting into permanent housing. Unfortunately, we don't have any way to keep track of that. Did they move out of the area, or, did they get an apartment? Did they get a house? Whatever. We don't have any way to track that.
Excellent. I thank you for that answer. And I was also I came up with the same thing. Last thing, were there any categories of individuals that were significantly different this year that you're aware of as compared to previous? Any group that now it seems to be more at risk than in the past?
Boy, not that we could tell, from the folks that came in. Unfortunately, every year we struggle with how do we get the youth there,
Yes.
the homeless youth there. And we still haven't quite figured out how to do that. And I think some of them obviously are taken care of, like, if mom or dad come in, but if it's somebody that's couch surfing and, that maybe don't have mom and dad there, yeah, we still, I still don't think we're reaching that group.
Thank you very much,
Mhm.
Mayor.
Mr. Chilson.
Thank you. I asked about this, I believe, a couple of years back at one of these presentations, and one particular data set I'm interested in are people who are potentially transitioning to homelessness due to housing units being taken off the market to be converted into short-term rentals. So that would be someone that might have an apartment that they've historically rented out year-round that they're converting into an Airbnb year-round, or even those that are being pushed out in the spring because the landlord wants to rent it during the summer and make more money overnight, and then they're suddenly homeless during the summer. Has there been any collection of data on that? Because I'd really be like,
Yes,
okay.
there has been. And so we asked again this year, have you had to move due to a seasonal rental unit? 13% said yes, 83% said no, and
Okay.
4% didn't answer.
Thank you.
So yes, so we are keeping track
I
of that.
appreciate that. Is that 13% number, is that up from last year? Do you,
You got, I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look, Jordan.
okay, I might follow up with you on that
Okay.
later. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Mr. Nelson.
Thank you very much for the data. So a little bit along the lines of Mr. Carey's question, I was interested in how long homeless, and your slide said 41% less than a year. So let's just maybe make an assumption that 41% of your attendees became recently homeless. And you did have some primary reasons, but I'm curious, does your data break out those people that are recently homeless any different than some of these others? So kind of like Mr. Chilson, I'm just wondering if is there a trend? Is there something in particular we're seeing in the community? Because I honestly don't remember. I know I've seen this presentation a lot. If 41% is a higher number, lower number, but could you just talk a little bit? Is there any data on that?
I'm sure there is. I'd have to go back and check, and maybe check with Sherry over at Lee Shore. She's the one that puts the reports together.
And no big deal.
Yeah.
I was just curious. And
Yeah.
one of the things, just kind of for the benefit of the folks listening, and I'm just going to ask you to confirm if I'm right. I've always understood that, some people here don't think we have a homeless problem in the Soldotna Kenai area or the Kenai Peninsula area. And I think where our homeless problem may not be as visible as a community like Anchorage, it seems, and you alluded to it, we have a lot of folks really right on that edge. So that couch surfing that you mentioned, and I think I've always understood that kind of disproportionately affects young people. Am I stating that correctly? That,
Mhm.
From your numbers, let's just say you have from those exit surveys, 130 folks, and obviously there's more than that. So am I stating that
Mhm.
correctly?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you very
You
much.
bet.
Anything else from the council? Vice Mayor Parker.
Thank you, Mayor Whitney. Thank you, Kathy. And I did read through the report that was provided to us. And I too had the same question that both Councilmember Carey and Nelson had about the first time attendees,
Mhm.
and found that interesting. But an unrelated, you said that you're providing this information to HUD. What does HUD do with it? And is there a benefit back to the community for providing them with this information?
Right, right. I have no idea what HUD does with it. But yes, if we're sending in numbers that somehow, and again, you got the B team here, so I'm not real sure how that works, but yes, that would direct funds back to our area. And that's why we felt, because we had been doing the central one for quite a few years, and we're like, we really need to bring in Homer and Seward so we can get an overall look for the Kenai Peninsula and get that money to come back to the Kenai Peninsula. So yes, it does come back to us.
And kind of a follow-up, I know the hospital does a community needs assessment.
Mhm.
Is this information, does the hospital get this information so they can incorporate that into our community needs assessment? And if they don't, can I get it? When can you send it to them?
Absolutely, I can send it to them. Yep.
Anything else? Ms. Wackler.
I just wanted to take a minute and thank you and all of the volunteers that organize this over the course of a year, and implement it so wonderfully and serve our community in this way. I know I had a cousin that was a nurse that volunteered over there. There's so many wonderful community volunteers that make this a possibility. And I just wanted to thank you and anybody else that's listening out there for getting this done for our community. So thank you.
You bet.
I wanted to thank you also. Speaking about volunteers, I know a lot of youth would love to help in this. Is there any opportunities for youth to be able to help with Project Homeless Connect?
There is, yes. We would have you sign, sign an agreement that says what you see here stays here. But yes, there are ways to do that.
Okay, I'll pass that along. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? I do have one comment, when it was mentioned about, homeless youth in the area.
Mhm.
Has anybody checked with the school district and see if they, track that? And maybe that might be.
They do, yes, and they're usually a part of, the Students in Transition is a part of Homeless Connect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there is kind of a way to know what's.
Oh,
going on.
yes, definitely. Mhm.
Just a quick,
Ms. Meckler.
just a quick edit on that. That program is now called the MVP program, McKinley Vinto program. Some people know of it as the Students in Transition, but it had a name change in case anyone's looking for it. Run by Kelly King over at KPBSD, and they do help underhoused students achieve their goals through education.
Good. Okay, thank you very much for all you do, and I'm sure we'll see you back up here at that podium in about 5 minutes or so.
Sounds good.
Okay. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is public comments and presentations. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on any item not appearing on the agenda? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on any item not appearing on the agenda? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record. And that's another one. We have another open public.
Can you please turn on your mic?
Hello, good evening, Mayor Whitney and members of the City Council. My name is Kate Bay. I'm a resident of Soldotna. I'm here tonight to ask you to consider a policy that cities like Providence, Rhode Island have recently adopted. It's a policy that simply states our city property should be used for our community and not for federal immigration enforcement. And why is this necessary? Well, you all know what happened this past week with ICE arresting 4 people. Because after the arrest of 4 peaceful Soldotna city residents last week by ICE, fear is creeping into our neighborhoods when federal immigration activities happen in our public spaces like parking lots, libraries, and parks. It doesn't just affect one group of people, it affects everybody. When parents are afraid to drive by a park because it might be used as a staging area for an arrest, they stop using those city services. They stop going to the park. They might even stop calling 911 when they see a crime because they're terrified of who they might run into. When people are afraid to interact with city officials, crime goes unreported, public trust breaks down, and that makes everyone feel less safe. Providence, Rhode Island looked at this problem and found a simple solution. Mayor Brett Smiley signed an order saying that no city-owned land, no parking lots, no public buildings, no parks can be used as a base for civil immigration enforcement. They aren't interfering with criminal warrants or stopping police from doing their jobs. They're simply saying that our public property is for public good, not for operations that terrorize our community. We have the same opportunity here in Soldotna to send a clear message to our neighbors. We see them, we value them, and we want everyone to be safe. The badge on our police officers represents safety to our community, but if that badge is associated with ICE, safety turns into fear. It takes years to build a relationship with the community and only a second to break that trust. We cannot afford to confuse our residents. We need them to wave at our officers, not worry about them. I'm not asking this council to solve federal immigration. That's above our pay grade. I'm asking you to control what we can control, our own city lots, our own buildings, and our own peace of mind. Let's keep our public property focused on public safety. Let's make sure that in Soldotna, everyone feels safe going to the park, going to the city hall, and going about their day. Thank you for your time. And here's this is the executive order from the city of Providence. I was gonna leave that with your secretary, and you can have it.
You can leave it here with the city clerk. And thank you for your comments. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on any item not appearing on the agenda? I'll take a look at Zoom, and there are no hands raised there. Moving on to the next agenda item is number 6, Assembly and Legislative Report. And I saw Mr. Truesdale there.
We're still live? Okay, great. My name's Sarge Truesdell. I'm Soldotna resident and the District 4 representative on the Borough Assembly. Just a couple of things in our most recent meetings that I thought had relevance towards the city of Soldotna. I did mention this the last time I was here, but we did pass this ordinance at the last meeting, amending the borough's election code to align with the voter-approved move of regular elections from October to November. The changes there were essentially changing worker compensation and moving the dates back 2 weeks from August 16th to August 31st, and then as well as adding in a 7-day withdrawal period, which they did not have, we did not have prior, but there is now. That was added to try to limit confusion when a person steps out of the race but can't get their name off the ballot. Obviously, this ordinance also extends the terms of the current elected officials through until the November elections. Another one that I thought was interesting and exciting is Ordinance 2025-1926, appropriating $681,667 in local assistance and tribal consistency funds to meet a 25% local match required for a $2 million federal grant to build telecommunications infrastructure in Turnagain Pass. So the federal funding awarded through the United States Department of Agricultural, Rural Housing Services Community Facilities Program supports the Kenai Peninsula's critical communications upgrade project. The local match includes the cost of a required preliminary architectural feasibility study. This appropriation is project-based, will not lapse at fiscal year end, and takes effect immediately. So ultimately, they're studying and figuring out how to add a telephone tower in turning somewhere to one of the sheer drift crossing is taking place up there when no one has cell service. They're doing part of that study is to figure out where to put that and where they can to close down and make the least amount of gaps possible. I think most of us know as we hit the top of that hill, we lose it. We probably don't get it back until almost Summit Lake in some cases. And so trying to close that gap down for safety's sake. So that was interesting discussion with the IT department at the borough and just, some questions and answers regarding that. So for all of us that live on the Kenai Peninsula, I thought that was of interest. That's all I had for tonight. Is there any questions?
Anybody from the council have anything? No? Looks not.
Okay. Thank you guys. Have a nice night.
Yeah, thank you very much for your report. I see no one else from the assembly or legislature here. So next item is public hearings, and we'll start that off with the, I'm sorry?
Mini grants.
The mini grants. Took the words right out of my mouth. And so we're on 9.7 mini grants under Memorandum 2026-006, determining the fiscal year 26 Cycle 2 mini grant awards and introduced by the city clerk here. Ms. Wackler.
Yes, I would like to state a conflict of interest. I am one of the applicants.
And you do have a conflict there
So I will.
and may
Move.
have a seat in the audience. Vice Mayor Parker.
Thank you, Mayor Whitney. One of the applicants is Special Olympics, and one of my family members was a special needs and a participant and a significant medal winner with Special Olympics. So I wanted to declare that conflict with this applicant. And he is unfortunately now deceased.
And I'm not going to see that as a conflict, and I think you can allow, stay on and score them. I am now going to pass the gavel to Vice Mayor Parker for a ruling. I have what can amount to multiple conflicts here. And we'll start out with the one from, let's see, Homeless Connect. I'm not a member of the committee at all, but I do sit in on most of the meetings and participate in some of the discussions if need be. Next one, let's see here. Soldotna High School boys soccer. And looking at the application, I noticed that my daughter signed that application and submitted it. So that's a potential conflict there. And the other one is under Special Olympics, Alaska, Central Peninsula Community. I'm the chairman of chair of the trustees of an organization that funds Special Olympics to a substantial sum of money. And I just recently, completing the budget, added that into that budget for that same sum of money. So I have quite a bit of connection with that organization that helped fund Special Olympics. And so I believe that might be a conflict also.
So regarding Project Homeless Connect, I do not see a conflict of interest. Regarding the boys soccer, your daughter is not a participant in the your granddaughter is not a participant in the boys soccer. So I don't see that as a conflict. And again, regarding Special Olympics, I don't see a conflict there.
At a consensus of everyone. Okay. Moving right along. First one up, mini grant presentation is Bridges Community Resource Network, Project Homeless Connect, and Ms. Gensel is back in front of us again.
Well, I appreciate you doing both of them on the same night. So I won't bore you with the report again, just to let you know that the funds that we have received in the past for the mini grant, we use to purchase backpacks again that we give to every client that comes through. And I do purchase those locally. So we'll also gift cards for food. And then we also use the funding to purchase shower cards and laundry cards for clients to take as well. So that's it, unless you have any other questions for me, since I already gave my report.
Any questions from the council? Seeing and hearing none, thank you very much for your presentation. Next one is,
Mr. Mayor,
oh, go ahead,
a question.
Mr. Carey.
Would the mini grant actually go to Bridges or to Homeless Connect?
I would imagine, are you asking me?
Well, I'm asking the mayor.
Okay.
That's all.
I'm imagining it's going to Homeless Connect.
Correct.
Maybe a pass through Bridges. But
But
I'm
it
not-
goes to Homeless.
Right, Bridges is a
Thank you.
fiscal sponsor, yeah.
Good.
Anything else? Okay, next one would be Ms. Wackler for the Peninsula Period Network.
Hi, thank you all for having me. So in 2022, I came to the council with a problem that I found that Soldotna had, and that was lack of access, ready access in restrooms of menstrual products for the students at KPBSD schools. That led to us getting our first funding. You guys awarded us $1,000 and kind of got our project off to its start. So I want to thank you all for that support. Since then, we've expanded to the entire Kenai Peninsula borough, not just focusing on Soldotna. We have sent supplies to all 42 schools, including Marathon, and then now the new Tulum school in Kenai. So that's a total count of 43 schools that we've been providing supplies to. The Central Peninsula has been amazing. The Soldotna Library has a donation box where we get in-kind donations from people. We're a wonderful spot for people who have stopped menstruating, and they can donate to us supplies that they're not using anymore for whatever reason in packaged but open boxes, and we can find a space for those at the schools. I'm coming to you in particular to ask for $1,000 to give supplies to SoHi. SoHi is our biggest user group. To date this year, we have donated over 6,000 supplies to just SoHi alone. And if you guys would honor us with being selected for this, I would use it to purchase directly. It's a 100% volunteer program, so it would go directly to purchasing roughly 5,263 tampons or pads, and they would get directly donated to SoHi in particular. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? Ms. Chilson, Mr. Chilson?
Two questions. One, does the school district currently provide any assistance to this program? And then my second question would be, does this serve as any potential match for other grants that you've been able to access?
This one is not a match, but it would be added to the funds that I have procured in other areas to purchase an entire pallet of supplies. So I have other funds that we received quite recently from an organization called 100 Plus Women Who Care. And combining these with those funds, I would be able to get a larger cost savings with that pallet. This would actually help aid in the shipping, which I found is more expensive than I thought to get a pallet of supplies up here. So it would be definitely added to that and be a cost savings for us to potentially get more supplies than it does for us to purchase them locally. Locally, it usually costs me about 25 cents per item to purchase. They can go up from that. Item costs can go up to over 30 to 35 cents an item, depending on where and what quantities you purchase them in. I try to only purchase items when it's below 19 cents an item. And this one in particular is going to be about 17 cents an item if I get them in a pallet. I know it's a lot of numbers. KPBSD does not support us financially in any way, but we did enter into an MOA with the school district to be able to enter in their facilities. But they also have this year helped support us with transportation through the warehouse at no charge. So as far as being able to drop stuff off at the district warehouse labeled with the school it goes to and have all of those schools that are really hard to get to, the school district takes care of that for us, and I consider that a huge financial help.
Absolutely. Great info. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else from the council? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation. Next one is Kenai River Pickleball Club, Karen, and I won't mention the last name because I can't pronounce it. Okay. Any questions or comments from the council? This, the grant that you've applied for, it's for outdoor activity and okay, where would that, outdoor location be? Okay, thank you. Anything else from the council? Seeing none, thank you very much. Oh, go ahead, Vice Mayor Parker.
Question either for the city manager or person who can answer it. Come April, the pickleball courts will be back in the field house from April through September?
Yes, the court will be down in the field house. Yes, that is correct.
I thought that the courts are going to be available. Because they're having.
That could be correct. Yes, there are many events, and I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure of that time frame. So I can get back to you, but I do know that there are many events, and I thought they were going to put it down, but that makes sense. They're taking it up in April. Excuse me, the turf up in April, have the events, and going back down. So, but I'll get back with the time frame.
Anything else? Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Next one will be Eric Dolphin for the Soldotna High School boys soccer team.
Hello. Thank you for the time for the council to let us present here. I am the head coach of the Soldotna boys soccer team. I have been, I think last year I completed my 6th season, but I've been involved with the program for I'm pretty sure this is going to be my 10th season. We are just seeking funds because high school sports are expensive. And as a spring sport, we struggle sometimes to get as much involvement as well as raise as many funds as we can to help pay for our sport. As many of you guys probably know, with the district changing some of the rules that they have, many of the high school sports, pretty much any high school activity has gone up in price significantly. And what that has often done is kind of priced some students out of being able to participate. And so we're seeking money for normal operations like balls, nets, goals. Obviously, we have to travel all over the state, but that's something we fund separately. As well as, we often try to comp activity fees for as many students who might not be able to play if we don't have the funds to do that. So often that means foreign exchange students, kids who are here on kind of a limited budget, and they want to get as much of the American culture as they can. I always am a huge encourager of those students playing as many sports as possible. So we often will cover those students' fees. And then soccer is one of the most widely played games around the world, partly because it is very accessible, right? You need some shoes, you need some shin guards and a ball, and you can play. Unfortunately, there's also, when it comes to high school athletics, there's uniforms, all the type of stuff that comes along with actually putting on and hosting a season. Now, in some ways, our program is somewhat suffering from our own success. Like I said, we completed my 6th season as the head coach. In those 6 seasons, we've appeared in 4 of the last 5 of the state championships. We won the state championship in 2024. We lost a heartbreaker last year to Palmer in penalty kicks, which was tough, but we're just seeking as much funds as we can. We're also having our players go out into the community and do service things. We've hosted a camp in the field house over Christmas break. We've got kids out selling raffle tickets right now. We have kids right now who are referees for the Soldotna field house indoor soccer season that's going on. So we're really trying to foster just a community sense for our players to get out there in our local Soldotna area. So like I said, we're just seeking funds anywhere we possibly can. We have been lucky enough to create several local partnerships and receive some sponsorships in that way, but with the model that districts are trending to, it's kind of a self-funded sport situation. So almost like a club situation. So really besides our activity fees, which are already coming from the kids and their parents, we're really kind of on our own to fund for the rest of the needs we have. And like I said, my biggest goal is to allow as many kids to play as possible. So in the past, I know I personally and other people involved in our program have footed the bill for some things that we might not have had money in our accounts for. So I've bought tons and tons of balls. We bought goals and nets. I bought shoes for kids, cleats and indoor shoes, shin guards, socks, things like that. Last season, as a gift to the program, we had some individuals, myself and some others, fund our entire uniforms. So we bought all new uniforms for our last season. So moving forward, we're kind of trying to shift to more community partnerships to help fund our season. But we are starting next Wednesday with practice. We'll be in the SoHi gym, and an additional cost that is hitting most spring or athletic programs this year is the addition of the field house, because we now have an opportunity to go and play in there in a larger space on the turf, but it is at a cost, right? So it isn't free for us to do that. So to try and give our kids those opportunities, this is why we're seeking the funds. So I'd be glad to take any questions you guys got. I know I see some familiar faces over on this side of the table. So anything that you want to know, I'd be glad to tell you.
Any, Vice Mayor Parker?
Thank you, Mayor Whitney. Thank you, sir. So have you approached Friends of Soldotna Fieldhouse about getting funds for?
Yes, we did. Right now, our biggest thing is timing and space. The field house is like jam-packed right now. So yeah, we have some of that going on. We also have some partnerships with our local soccer club, Kenai Peninsula Soccer Club. We've kind of partnered with them to provide not just beneficiaries time for SoHi, but for all high school aged players. So we do have some partnerships going on like that as well.
Anything else from the council? Just one quick question. One of the things the school district is also slowing down or stopping is the transportation costs. Is it going to be a complete halt, or is it, how's that going to go? Or do you even know?
So a lot of those negotiations are really up in the air right now. I think the last I heard at one of the last budget meetings was there is some intent to model what we do here in the peninsula after what they do in the Matsu Valley and in Anchorage. And if they haven't decided what they're going to do and we are going to model off what they do, it kind of leaves a lot up in the air. I will say transportation costs have increased significantly, and our support directly from the district to pay those transportation costs has been reduced significantly. My view is that what's going to happen with all high school sports across the state is that we're all going to go to what's usually called a club model, where it says you can wear, SoHi uniforms, whatever, but you are going to fund your season on your own. And either you do that through activity fees that get raised, or you do that through fundraising on your own. So we're kind of in the middle of that transition right now. And some of this is trying to help us be solvent for the years to come. Last year, we were very successful, and we had to, which means you travel more. So we traveled to Ketchikan and Juneau, which plane tickets are obviously very expensive. And then we obviously are traveling to Anchorage in the Valley every other weekend, it feels like, once we get into the soccer season. I know we've got a stretch of games this year where we play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think we played 6 games in 8 days or something like that. So the travel can be intense.
And actually, I think you have a raffle drawing this week.
We do. We're selling raffle tickets right now. The drawing is this Saturday. So we do hope to raise some funds from that. But that raffle is to benefit all high school programs across the peninsula, which is great. Part of my focus with soccer is not just, I am the SoHi coach, but I spend a lot of my time in the field house or with Kenai Peninsula Soccer Club, or I used to be the athletic director for the Boys and Girls Club, the Kenai Peninsula. I just think soccer is a great game for kids and people to play. So I'm trying to put myself out there as much as I can just to support our community.
I've sold those tickets, and I've bought a lot more.
Oh, I bet you did.
So.
I got more. If it not.
Anything else from the council? Saying none. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next is Special Olympics, and that will be Emily Tymick or Heidi Renner.
Hello, thank you, Heidi Renner.
Yes, well.
No, it's on. Okay, I can talk loud anyways, but my name is Heidi Renner. Thank you for listening to the reasons why I came here today to request a mini grant for Special Olympics Central Peninsula Community. Um, I'm the community manager. Everything we do is volunteer based. And so all of our people that come and coach are volunteers. And everything that we do to run our Central Peninsula community is based off of fundraising and donations. And we're starting to reach out through our communities for some help. Because just like we've heard from the other presenters of costs going up, locations, facilities, I'm also the swim coach, and our swim season starts next week also, and same with our basketball season. And we have a new sport this year, powerlifting. I've been with the community for about 5 years now as far as Special Olympics. I started off just coaching, and then I stepped up into the community manager role just because I found that we really need opportunities for accessible, inclusive recreation for people with intellectual disabilities or just disabilities in general. And I brought with me a whole bunch of my people today. Can I have all the Special Olympians stand up just so you can kind of be recognized? But a whole bunch. All these people behind me, yes, very, absolutely. We have Jason over here who got chosen to be a representative of the state of Alaska at the USA Games coming up this summer in Minnesota. So we're very excited about that. But without all these programs, the funding for these programs, we wouldn't have the opportunity for Jason to go do something like that. Tristan's on our swim team too, and he's got his medals. Yep, he works very hard. This is my friend Alex. Alex, can you tell the council why Special Olympics is important to you?
It makes a friendship for me. It also taught me how to swim because before I did Special Olympics, I did not know how to swim.
That's very true. And Alex is also our athlete representative on our community management team. He's a very big proponent and helps to spread the word because he is always reminding me that it's about friendship and connection, not just sports. We love our sports, but it's also about making friends and connecting with the community too. I have Evie over here and Hannah. Can you ladies wave? And these are two of my swimmers and bocce players. And that's Daryl right there. He's one of our swimmers. And Jess, she's pretty much involved in everything. And Jess, why is it important that we keep fundraising and trying to get money for our program?
It requires that people could come and do Special Olympics that have like walkers or wheelchairs and that can make friends.
Absolutely. So you guys can have a seat if you'd like, but this is the reason why I'm here, 100%, is all the people behind me. And our community program is growing. I have over about 35 to 40 people on my swim team. And so for that reason, we've also had to rent the pool longer. And the pool is our most expensive expense because we're starting our summer season. Even though we've practiced in the spring, it's our summer games coming up in June. And so the cost for the pool alone is $1,700. And like I was saying, everything is based off of donation, fundraising, and everything is volunteer. So we really could use a little extra help in those areas. We also are trying to expand our program too. So just watching from when I started volunteering about 5 years ago, I started with 12 people on my swim team, and we had a handful of people with basketball. And this year we've, like I said, I have almost 40 people just on the swim team. And so that's a lot of people in our community. And that means a lot of volunteers and people from our community that are stepping in to help. So I thank you for your time. These guys, thank you for your time. Did you have any questions about Special Olympics in the Central Peninsula?
Go ahead, Vice Mayor Parker.
Just a comment to our friend Daryl, because Daryl was here before he went to the national swimming tournament, and we gave him a lot of city of Soldotna pins that he took with him back to nationals.
So now Jason is going to be in the
exceptionally
same.
well.
That's the same tournament that that's right. Not that I forgot, Daryl. Sorry. Because Daryl was our USA, our Alaska representative too. So, but now we have Jason. And so that would be something possibly would be interested in there too.
Come back before you go to national and let the clerk know so we can get pins for you.
We are going to be having a, end of the season, summer season, like fundraiser, barbecue, get together. Where we're doing raffles and things. Those are other ways that we're trying to come up with new ways to fundraise. But that would be, we're hoping to invite the community. We'll send you an invite. We'd love to see your faces there.
Anything else from the council? I do have one question. What swimming pool are you using?
We use Skyview.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can I say something for a minute here? I've been
Go ahead.
involved with Special Olympics for quite a while, with Jessica, helping her out. And most of the funding comes from Special Olympics Alaska. But if you don't specify Central Peninsula, it goes into their pool. And they get to go get gyms and schools and things else like that. And other communities get out of it. So like Patty was saying, a lot of the summer games are funded by the people, local people here too, but we also have fall games too for the bocce too, and we were short on funds last year for that too. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Nope. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We are going to take a short break here. 5 minutes enough? Should be about a 5-minute break.
And we will know who the mini grant recipients are at the end of this break.
Yes.
Yes.
So for those mini grant recipients at the end of this break, we should know who is going to get the mini grants. So you don't necessarily have to all go away.
We're gonna reconvene after the short recess. The score sheets have been tabulated, and the top two scores were the Peninsula Period Network at 102 and Special Olympics at 108. May I have a motion to approve the results and award the grants? Mr. Carey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate all the applicants. And I move that the Soldotna City Council approve the mini grant funding for the Special Olympics Alaska Central Peninsula Summer Sports Support and the Bridges Community Resource Network Peninsula Period Network.
May I have a second, please? Thank you, Ms. Hutchings. Any discussion? We will have a roll call vote, please.
Chilson,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Hutchings,
Yes.
Parker, Nelson,
Yes.
Kincaid.
Yes.
You have 5 yes votes.
Thank you. The mini grants were approved and on a 5-0 vote. Moving on to the next agenda item is public hearings. Ordinance 2026-004, increasing estimated revenues and appropriations by $226,500 in the general fund and $226,500 in the Soldotna Regional Sports Complex Capital Project Fund for refrigeration system rink mitigation and building repairs, introduced by the city manager. May I have a motion to enact? Ms. Hutchings.
I'll make a motion to enact ordinance 2026-004.
Second, please. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Report from the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, there has been a report regarding the ice arena and the work that needs to be done. And there were some short-term, I'm going to call them short-term measures to be taken that were recommended to do right away. Those involve the Freon storage, spare compressor rebuild, compressor annual maintenance, pressure relief valves, emergency lights upgrade, and heat exchanger replacement, and for a total cost of $500,000. $226,000. Thank you.
That's a tongue twister.
It was. It was.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, which is ordinance 2026-004? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on that ordinance? Seeing none, we'll take a look at Zoom, and there are no hands raised there. Having no one wishing to speak, the item is back before the council. Are there any council comments? Vice Mayor Parker.
So I had a question regarding the Freon that we're going to purchase. Is there a life expectancy on that? How long will that last?
Mr. Mayor? First, we have Kyle here, but we also have Trevor from Baldwin from the field house here, who primarily does all of the maintenance work, probably all of it. I would ask him to come up and answer these questions, please. If you'll come up here. You two can tag team it, however you wanted to work this out between the two of you, but you both have the answer, so however you want to work that one out.
Just make sure that microphone's on.
There we go. That works. So yes, my name is Trevor Baldwin. I'm the operations supervisor of the Parks and Rec Department, which mainly this point in time of the season is the ice rink and of course now the new field house. I've been with the city pushing 17 years now, grew up playing hockey in that facility when it opened. So yes, to answer your question about the Freon, as long as it stays in its container, it is totally fine and will last for as long as we want to store it. And so no issues there.
Is there anything else?
I just in reading through this, I wanted to make sure that everything, because I see it's for a 3 to 5 year period, depending on the ice, of course, but that we weren't purchasing something that was going to then go dormant.
Yeah, so of course, with that hope that 3 to 5 years, we are potentially changing, evolving the system, which if you talk to any ICE technicians throughout, the world, they normally traditionally do this about every 20 years. We are beyond 35 years of running the same system, everything. So it shows due diligence and maintenance that we have done to make our system last as long as we have. But it is time. Finding parts, finding Freon that is no longer being manufactured, of course, is, becoming an issue. Finding something for a 35-year-old system, the increase in the rebuild kits. We traditionally, when I started every single year, would invest in the overhead parts, make sure that everything is running optimal and as efficient as possible, and less chance of something catastrophic breaking and losing the ice and affecting the community by not being able to provide it. So when I started, it was about $3,000 for a full kit for the whole system. My last phone call this summer for the same purchase that I have done was $20,000. And it's not anything other than, well, they're just not needed as more. So it's harder to find and, well, yeah, we got one left on the shelf. And so that's part of what this is about, like needing the funds to put those on our shelf so I can continue for the next 3 to 5 years, making sure the system is running optimal.
Any other questions from Mr. Nelson?
How much Freon approximately do we use each year?
Traditionally, Dave Ashbury and myself, we are only adding probably about 40 to 60 pounds in the system, but I need my system traditionally about 2,000 pounds. If there is a catastrophic leak or failure, we have to obviously replenish that to get the compressor system going and optimal. The Menard facility in Wasilla 2 years ago actually had a significant leak in their unit. And luckily they were able to find someone in Anchorage that had enough of a stockpile and was able to get them back up and running after the repairs were made. But sadly, traditionally we can buy 40-pound bottles at a time, which costs have stayed pretty level lately. But I know I have talked to other facilities down in the States and they're looking at like $70 to $80 a pound. We are traditionally about $40 a pound. And it's just finding the availability of it sitting around, who has it. Traditionally, we get it out of Anchorage. And so at least maybe the next day we can see some, but not being able to get a 2,000-pound bottle shipped to us in that situation. So that's why keeping it on hand and stored at our facility.
Follow up for administration.
Sure, go
please.
ahead.
Forgive my memory here, but directed to the city manager, and I'm certainly not opposed to anything in this ordinance, but just talking about the lifespan of what particularly this refrigerant that isn't manufactured anymore will last. I mean, what does your crystal ball say on replacement of this system? And I'm not going to hold you to it, but I'm just for the benefit of this conversation. Maybe you've said it before, but could you elaborate a little bit?
Well, the report says 3 to 5 years, but truly it is depending on funding and which direction that we go, which is, again, I know I keep going back to the work session, but it is true. That's when we're going to talk about, options and a recommendation as well. Ideally, if we had the funding, we'd do the entire project and in the 3 to 5 years span. But we have, decisions need to be made, but it is, thanks to the upkeep and the maintenance, we've been able to continue on, but the report is 3 to 5 years.
Thank you for that. And there's no doubt about that. We're into, 15 years past our design life is impressive. So. Yeah.
Anything else from the council? Just a quick one. More use of the ice rink. Will that cause you use more Freon?
No, traditionally not. Usually our small amount that we have to add throughout the season is typically done during, or is lost during like maintenance. When we have to pump the system down to then work on it. There's always small little, oh, this bolt tweaked just a little bit, leaked out just the most minor bit. Oh, okay, we lost 1/2 of a pound. And okay, so just that traditionally over the course of every season is what we normally have to add. But this year, actually, Dave and I have not even really added anything to the system. It's been running as efficient as it should be, and leaks have been caught way before anything is even being able to measure that we lost.
And we keep our fingers crossed.
Yes.
Anything else from the council?
Yeah, I'll just add to Trevor's comments. This is really repair and maintenance of critical systems, not uncommon. It's just getting more expensive, like Trevor said. We're blessed that these systems still work. When the experts came down, they said, how the heck are you still running these things? And it's because of the maintenance that our crew put into them. But it's also risk management. The purchase of Freon, having standby systems. It was probably about 10 years ago, maybe, Trevor, we bought $50,000 worth of Freon. The phase out has been known. You can't manufacture it, you can't import it. And it does have a good shelf life, and the resale market is strong. So there's really not a risk in expenditures that we can't realize. So if we were to upgrade, make changes, there'll be plenty of people calling Trevor to ask for his to buy his Freon.
Anything else? Call for the vote. Roll call.
Parker,
Yes.
Hutchings,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Chilson.
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Wackler,
Yes.
Kincaid.
Yes.
You have 6 yes votes.
Ordinance 2026-004 passes on a 6-0 vote. Moving on to the next item, 2026-005, increasing estimated revenues and appropriations by $10,000 in the general fund for a donation received from Deborah McCarthy, introduced by the city manager. May I have a motion to enact? Ms. Hutchings.
I make a motion to enact ordinance 2026-005.
A second, please. Mr. Nelson. Report from the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The funds will be used to purchase library furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and we do want to thank Ms. McCarthy for her generous donation.
Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, which is ordinance 2026-005? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll take a look at Zoom, and there are no hands raised there. Having no one wishing to speak, the item is back before the council. Are there any council comments? Seeing and hearing none, are there any objections to enacting ordinance 2026-005? Seeing and hearing none, it is adopted by unanimous consent. Next item on the agenda, ordinance 2026-006, accepting grant funds from the Alaska Police Standards Council and increasing estimated revenues and appropriations by $16,092 in the general fund to attend the UAF CTC Basic Police Officer Academy, introduced by the city manager. May I have a motion to enact? Mr. Carey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the adoption of ordinance 2026-006 to provide funds for attending the UAF CTC Basic Police Officer Academy.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Chilson. Report from the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This grant will provide the funds for an officer attending this academy. I would say that the city prepaid and the officer has attended the academy and is back in Soldotna and working for us, and it's been very successful. We received the grant after the fact, and this appropriates the funds.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this ordinance 2026-006? Anyone here in the audience? Seeing and hearing none, we'll take a look at Zoom, and there are no hands raised there. Are there any council comments? I have one quick one. Way back when, around the turn well, after the turn of the century. I was actually an instructor in that course. So, are there any objections to enacting ordinance 2026-006? Seeing and hearing none, it is passed by unanimous consent. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, and that's a postponed item, and that is ordinance 2025-015, amending the Soldotna Municipal Code, Chapter 17.10 zoning code by establishing a new subchapter 17.10.268 Riverfront Mixed Use District and amending sections of SMC Titles 1, 15, and 17 to establish standards for the Riverfront Mixed Use Zoning District, introduced by the city manager. The motion to enact as amended is on the floor from the September 10th, 2025 meeting. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Whitney. I'd like to declare a potential conflict on this item and the following item. I lease office space within the Riverfront, the proposed Riverfront mixed-use district, in excess of the limits set out by city code.
And the ruling is that you do have a conflict there, and you will be sitting out on these two items. Our report from the administration.
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Mitchell does have a presentation. Would you like us to proceed with that now, or would you, I'm not quite sure. Go ahead with that presentation. All right, thank you. Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you. Johnny, can we make sure it's version 3? Because that's the latest slides. I want to make sure. Sorry. Perfect. As Johnny's pulling the slides up, I just wanted to go over the land uses and the development standards again, just to refresh your memory of the fine details of this. I know you've seen this and heard this multiple times. So with this ordinance in particular is creating a new zoning district, what we're calling as the Riverfront Mixed Use, or RMU zoning district. You good, Johnny? Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you again. So can you go to the next slide, please? So just to refresh everyone's memory, the area that we're talking about is all currently zone commercial, which is yellow that you see in the area that's being proposed, which is the map to your right, is everything in red, which is being proposed as the RMU district. So this encompasses 35 parcels, approximately 50 acres of the Riverfront redevelopment area. This effort is as a result of the adoption of the Riverfront redevelopment plan. Next slide. So this RMU district would apply to that area where you had seen in red. So when it comes to the land use table, I did it in a way to hopefully highlight changes and new changes or what's going to be impacted. So when it comes to use, these are permitted use within the commercial district today and what will continue to be permitted in the RMU. So there's no changes to these uses listed before you on the slide. Assembly, concert halls, eating establishments, financial services, hotel, motels, museums, offices, parks and day playground, retail sales, personal services, indoor recreation facilities, and theaters. These are uses that wouldn't have any changes or wouldn't be affected by the RMU. This next one
you're good, is under the current ordinance or current zoning district, these uses are conditional and they will remain conditional. So in terms of processes, in terms of use, there are no changes. And multifamily townhomes and condos today in the commercial district require a conditional use permit. Within the proposed RMU, they will continue to require a conditional use permit. Next slide. This slide is conditional use today or currently permitted today, and in the RMU, it would be subject to conditional use. So these are uses by right in the commercial district. But within the proposed RMU, you need a conditional use permit. I just want to be very clear and that everyone is following. So daycare centers, commercial parking lot, guide services, industrial, light industrial, recreational lodge, recreational facilities outdoors, repair services, and schools when it comes to a dance studio or academy, they will be allowed under the RMU if they obtain a conditional use permit. So these uses before you would require conditional use in the proposed RMU district. In the commercial district as it is today, these are permitted by right. Next slide. So this is probably the one that people are more concerned about in general too, because what is currently permitted today would be prohibited within the RMU district. So we're talking about our animal care, our veterinarian hospital, clinic, auto wash, and I highlighted what's in bold is existing uses that are in this area. Fueling and service, the gas station, the repair shop, Dan's Automotive, those are currently existing uses that would be affected by the proposed RMU district. Churches and similar religious facilities are prohibited uses, clubs, community residents, emergency shelters, handicapped community residents, and this is the River Quest group home that's in their area. And you have food and storage lockers, funeral homes, you have your commercial greenhouses, marijuana establishments, and laundromats and wholesales. So these uses that are currently permitted under the commercial district would be prohibited uses in the proposed RMU district. Next slide. All right, continuing of prohibited uses in the proposed RMU, which are currently today conditional uses. Going from top to bottom, animal care, boarding, commercial kennel, these again will all be prohibited. And again, I highlighted in bold existing use that are within this parameter or boundaries of the RMU district, because we do have an RV park. We have single family and two family dwellings on 2 parcels. And then again, nursing, convalescence, and rest home is the Aspen Creek. So those are existing uses that would be affected by this proposed RMU because within the land use table, these will be prohibited under the RMU. Boarding house, lumber yards, storage yard, transmission towers, and warehousings are used that would be prohibited under this proposed RMU district. Next slide. So outside of land use tables, we have development standards that every zoning districts have, which typically are setbacks, lot coverage, maximum building height, landscaping. As proposed in the RMU, when it comes to setback and coverage, nothing's being changed. The same standards that are applied under a commercial district today would be the same under the RMU district. Again, the same thing is the case with the building height. Commercial district allows up to 48 feet tall buildings. Under the RMU, we're keeping it the same, no changes there. And then in landscaping, same standards would be applied. And I put an asterisk regarding parking and loading because there are specific standards that are being proposed, and that will be on the next slide. I apologize that this is actually really hard to read. But the specific parking standards within this ordinance is what you know that reduce parking that are specifically for this district, not for citywide. This was parking reduction would be only applied to this RMU district. When we talk about residential dwelling, 1 space per unit, currently it's 2 space per unit. Financial institutions, all the ones that you see that are being proposed 1 space per 400, the existing code right now is 1 space per 300 square feet, and this is gross floor area. So there's a change of approximately 100 square feet with those uses. The other substantial change here, really, when it comes to the parking reduction, is the restaurants. Currently, what's being proposed is 1 space per 200 square feet. The current code is actually right now 1 space for every 60 square feet. So that is a substantial change. Again, this table was presented really referring to the Riverfront Development Plan as a suggestion in terms of the parking. And then the table to the right are additional standards that are being presented new, and it comes to street parking location, where that can be located, on street credit, if they were to need additional parking that they can't provide on the premise, or off-street parking as well. These are, I guess, additional ways for them to meet their minimum parking. Again, these are minimum parking spaces. And then driveway curb cuts, trash receptacles, or additional standards that would be applied strictly to the RMU district. And these are really the standards when it comes to land use, and development standards or dimensional standards, different from any of the other districts. And that's really all I have for in terms of highlighting this ordinance itself, because I think those are the big changes that are different and new to this district and also to the city itself. And next slide, I believe this is the last slide. So I'm happy to answer any questions your council may have in regards to what has been presented, and any further questions. Thank you.
After the public hearing. We'll have the public hearing first. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, which is ordinance 2025-015?
My name is Brian Bishop. I'm the manager at the River Terrace RV Park and son-in-law of Gary Hinkle, who owns it. I'd like to start by
I'm sorry.
Okay, this is just requesting that we be excluded from the RMU. For my time, I'd like to voice opposition to the RMU. The things I want to bring up are Alaska Constitution Article 1-1. All persons have the natural right to the enjoyment of the rewards of their own industry. I feel that the council should not limit our ability to income. Alaska Constitution Article 1-2 says all political power is inherent in the people. I contend that the primary benefit of governance to the people as a whole is to uphold individual rights, including property rights. Article 1-18 states private property shall not be taken or damaged for public use without just compensation. I believe the RMU reduces the economic opportunity of our property value for the public benefit of others. I feel that this is, the public benefit is being prioritized over landowner rights. If the issue were safety or public health, I could get behind it. But it seems to me to resolve more around aesthetics and revenue. And I don't think that anyone has a right to see through someone else's property to what's on the other side, ergo the view of the river. There are plenty of public places to view the river without constraining the rights of property owners. It's nice that we're grandfathered in, but it imposes some confusing limits on growing or improving our business. Such uncertainty stunts investment in a business. We have some ongoing initiatives to improve service for our guests for this season, and those might be not allowed if this passes. And I also want to point out that according to an ATIA study, 2023 study, which I actually want to give to you. There are many of these studies out there, but very few of them are printable online. Found that campers spend an average of $216 per day while they're in our state. Another study by KOA finds that campers are spending $156 per person per day. So restricting our property cuts into the tourism artery that supports Alaska, in my opinion. In closing, I ask that you not pass the RMU rezone, rather focus on ways to work with developers rather than restricting longtime current uses. Thank you.
Any questions from the council? Mr. Chilson.
I just want to say thank you for coming out here tonight. I mean, our intent here is obviously not to impede on operations of local businesses that have been established in the area for some time. So you mentioned in your letter here that you have concerns about policies being detrimental to your continued operations. Can you give me some specific examples of aspects of your current operation that you have concerns about this impacting negatively?
Well, as the business increases, right now we have 120 spaces available. A lot of those are very large spaces. We had plans to potentially expand that to fit more into that area, which this would, if I understand right, prevent. So that.
But that would, I'm assuming that wouldn't require construction of any new buildings. That would be just expanding operations into an area that's already flat.
Well, yeah, but it's my understanding that that's prohibited. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, we'll be discussing that as a council.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to get an understanding of what you.
Yeah, because a
see
lot
as
of my
being-
basis is on that assumption.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, thank you very much
All
for
right.
your testimony.
Thank you for listening.
Yep. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on ordinance 2025-015? And please state your name and address for the record. I'm sorry. Yes.
And you have the Dairy Queen and property behind it. But during the progression of the development, we continue the idea that we have Lover's Lane and then that River City is designed and you have to keep these things. We start getting up our property and migrate there, started the house through it. Change and grow, develop, prop it up. That I think that develop the way we would like to. Against having any sort of restrictions that the city council decides that or public thinks that they need to do that for the public. That I don't think that is in their shoes for the public. That's not your lane. You should not be able to contain how that is. What we've done, we want to make better. It was. That's kind of my thought.
Any questions or comments from the council? Mr. Chilson.
So asking the same line of questioning I brought up with the last commenter. I would like to know your thoughts on specific examples of existing operations or operations that you could see expanding into or offering on your property in the future that you would see negatively impacted to this. Because to your comment about city regulating use of property, I mean, any city you ever live in and run businesses, you're going to have zoning that limit uses of that land. It's completely reasonable to expect that. Now, whether or not the limitations that are imposed are reasonable or not is a different question. I mean, obviously, you don't want to have a business district where anything goes because you don't want to operate, invest as a business owner, building a business that you pour yourself into, and then someone opens a slaughterhouse next door because there's no regulations that drives all your business away. So there's a balance to be had. So I'm just trying to understand potential impacts to our existing business owners. So like, can you give me some specific examples of operations that you're currently conducting that you see direct conflict with this in, or foreseen future expansion of operations that this would impact?
I guess what I'm worried about is that if you start taking an inch here and there, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can't do this. And then the next thing it's like, we have houses there currently, and now it's like, well, we have tenants there that want to sign 10-year lease and they would like a garage on there. Well, with the new ordinance, now we can, to use it, we can't put the garage there. Now we lose a tenant. Now I have to, we have a fire, and I think the way I read it is that a fire that we could rebuild, but I think with the rebuild, then we have to go the direction of the
Got it.
city, right? And so now you're handcuffing what the goal is of like, how expensive is this gonna get? I might not, maybe I only have 100,000, maybe I don't have $1 million to go in the direction of the city. And so then now I'm handcuffed and I'm dealing with property taxes and don't start to crumble. And what am I supposed to do now? Just sit there and look at it, and then somebody wants to buy it eventually, and I don't want to do that. I want it to go to the next generation. Also, that's my fear. And it just starts to snow effectively.
So I guess I'm just trying to understand like what specific restrictions are the most concerning to you of those? Because again, like any commercial district in any city is going to have restrictions on what kind of businesses you can operate in there. So, okay.
Every business starts out as that.
Starts something.
I don't.
So when cities look at changing those regulations, I guess I'm just trying to understand, like, are there specific aspects of this that are most concerning to you? Like,
I don't think it is correct that the city has that ability to just like, why, it starts like this, and then the amendment, pretty soon that you will only have retail here and you'll have living above, right?
Okay.
I don't want that. I don't want my drive-through to change. I like having houses back there, maybe I want to develop a different direction. I don't know. But why are we, if I want to put a shop back there we got the herbs going up across the road, it's a pot shop, but that's not gonna be okay. Why not? What's wrong with that?
well, I really do appreciate the feedback. It is helpful.
Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, thank you for your comments. Anyone else here in the audience wishing to speak on ordinance 2025-015? Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes. Is there a light?
Right?
Now it's bright.
Okay.
You click it, it goes on and off. My name is Jim Butler. As many of you know, I'm an attorney. I work in Kenai with Holmes, Weddle, Barcott. Our former firm, Baldwin and Butler, merged with them a few years ago, and I'm of counsel. R&T Properties, one of the property owners in the area, is our client. So I'm speaking a little bit on behalf of the client and also sort of on behalf of myself. And first and foremost, to thank the city's effort and the staff for a long, arduous process. I have had the opportunity to sit in on the working group and have had to not only hear what the city's thinking about, but also learn a lot about the issues that are confronting you. One of the things I think I wanted to point out was the concept of exercising the police authority of land use. And in most instances, the police zoning is an exercise of a police authority because you're controlling somebody's behavior or their use of their property. In most instances, it's used to protect property, surrounding property, or from pollution or nuisance. Land use, in the other hand, is more of a incentivized approach. Here's what we're recommending. Here's what we're going to try to incentivize. Here's where the city's going to help. Here's where the industry or the sector is going to help. So I looked at the land use as more of a carrot, and zoning should be considered more of a stick because you're basically making a law, right? This is the way it's going to be. Along the process, I've also noticed the discussion has gone from kind of conceptualizing ideas, coming up to getting kind of locked into the solution is this exercise of police authority of a zoning change versus what other tools are in the toolbox. A lot of discussion over the comprehensive plan, the plan for this area. Is that something that can incentivize developers to come in? Maybe have the city look for opportunities to support that development. And I think that once we get into this zoning lock, it changes that discussion. So in thinking about the options, I kind of try to help focus on the carrot approach over the stick approach. And I think the very noble interest of the social benefits of your decision-making tonight, it is also important to consider the implication of how that's perceived with whether it's the existing landowners or the ones that are going to come along and do business in your community. Certainly, I would defer to your judgment on that as longtime Soldotnans and me, a guy from Kenai. We've seen a lot of tables and a lot of diagrams, and I really kind of learned to list a lot about how to characterize information. But one of the little things I tidbitted out was if you look at the current proposal, the impacts of private land right along the riverfront, just along the riverfront, if you take the linear feet in length, you remove the public land, the permitted and vacant use, there's about 1,000 feet. And for the non-conforming use, it's not allowed, but it's grandfathered in, so you have those constraints. You're at over 2,000 feet. So 67% of the private land along the river is going to be changed into non-conforming use. The other was the number of lots impacted, again, along the river, okay? I mean, because really what's going on the main street's pretty much going to stay the same, and that makes some sense. One would be conditional use. 3 are permitted uses. 2 of them are vacant. They're one of them's real small. And the other 4 are all non-conforming use, which is the bulk of those 10 parcels. So again, I really want to thank the process. I feel like the city has remained open. I understand there's some people tonight who probably have some ideas on some changes or some amendments. I think this is important enough that if you decide to wait a little longer, there'll be other opportunities to maybe further explain some of the concerns of some of the folks. Again, I've learned a lot, and I would look forward to the council keeping in mind the role of incentivizing people to come in and want to expand and explore versus the idea of so many of these local long-term properties being changed in a way that they're going to be changed. So I'd be welcome to answer any questions if you have any. And again, thank you to staff certainly, and to the city manager, and your consultants were real friendly and had good coffee. And I don't envy your decision, but I just wanted to share some views. So I'd be welcome to answer any questions as you decide what your next path ahead is.
Any questions from the council? Doesn't look like.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else here in the audience wishing to speak on ordinance 2025-015?
I just had a question, if any,
I'm
sorry.
If,
I have to
if
stand
you want to
back.
testify, you can come up here and.
You got it. I just had a question. I just had a question of emails.
Name and address.
My name is Stephanie Reynolds and my address is 228 Stacy Drive.
Okay.
And I just was wondering if emails submitted to the council at soldotna.org were considered for the vote. Okay, even though I submitted it today?
Yes.
Okay, so it's been read and
It's been
taken into
it's been
consideration
sent to everyone on the council.
and read by everyone?
I can't speak for anyone other than myself.
Okay, I was just curious if it is being taken into consideration for the decision on the ordinance tonight.
It's part of the record.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else in the audience? We'll take a look at Zoom. And there are no hands raised there. Having no one else wishing to speak, the item is back before the council. Are there any council comments? Vice Mayor Parker.
You had mentioned that,
Just one quick comment I want to make. Councilmember Nelson has to leave at 8 o'clock, so he's not involved in this decision-making, but he does have to leave.
So when he walks out the door.
okay, have a nice evening, Mr. Nelson. See you at the end of March at the work session on the ice rink. So you had mentioned at the end of Ms. Mitchell's presentation, you were, if there were questions from council, you were going to take them after the public comment?
Yes.
Okay. So did you want to do that
Yeah,
before
go ahead.
I have some amendments I want to propose? So I don't know if you want to go to,
Do you have a question for staff?
no,
Okay. Ms. Hutchings did, so we'll go to her first.
My questions won't be any different before or after the amendment. So if you want to do your amendment, then I'll do my questions or discussion.
Go ahead with your amendments.
We're just struggling to hear. There,
pardon?
is there anything you can do to turn it up? We can't hear you. The meeting has been difficult, but we can't hear you at all now.
Can you hear me?
Now you're much better.
But we have not been able to hear generally, not just you.
Well, I have the same issue sometimes when people are also talking. So, so I have a number of amendments I would like to propose to Ordinance 2025-015. Amendment number 1 would be amending our whereas section. And it would change it to the area considered for rezone encompasses a 50-acre portion situated between the Sterling Highway, the Kenai River, and Douthit Memorial Bridge and Birch Street, consisting of 33 parcels currently zoned commercial. And that's the first, and this is conforming to, so if I could have a second, then I could speak to it.
I'll second.
Okay.
So this whereas clause was written prior to the amendment getting adopted by the Planning Commission meeting in May, where they reduced the size and took out from Birch Street over to Hutchings property. So that was eliminated from the Riverfront development rezone. And it reduced it from the 85 acres to now it's a proposed 50 acres. So this would make it this consistent with what's being proposed in the ordinance.
Anyone else have any discussion on that? All right, we'll call for the roll on amendment number 1, which was to amend the 4th whereas clause to read.
Wackler,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Chilson,
Yes.
Hutchings,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Kincaid.
Yes.
That amendment passed on a 5-0 vote. You had a second amendment?
I do, and my second amendment would be to amend section 6 by deleting subsection F in its entirety. And subsection F deals with the specific parking requirements.
We have a second. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Chilson. Discussion.
So in looking at this proposed ordinance, it is addressing many different issues. It's looking at a rezone of the property along the south side of the Sterling Highway. It looks at changes to parking requirements, and then the other section conditional use, and it's changing some of the standards. And I think by trying to tackle all of this in one ordinance, it's too much. We've already identified that we need to address these issues, and I think we need to address these issues separately and not within this proposed ordinance at this time. So that is why I'm proposing to have this deleted.
Any other comments? I just have one quick question for the administration, and I don't have a copy of that full ordinance in front of me. Will that require any renumbering or anything in that ordinance if this passes?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Well, I believe that the clerk has the authority to renumber without amendments.
All right. Ms. Wackler?
Since I don't have the entirety in front of me just right now, this doesn't state that it'll be replaced with anything. Is it going to be regular commercial zoning parking requirements by default?
The current city code as it addresses parking would be what is applicable.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote.
Carrie,
Yes.
Chilson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Hutchings,
Yes.
Wackler,
Yes.
Kincaid.
Yes.
You have 5 yes votes.
Amendment number 2, deleting section 6, or excuse me, amend section 6 by deleting subsection F on parking has passed on a 5-0 vote. We're back to the main motion still, the ordinance. Any further discussion, Vice Mayor Parker?
One final amendment to this ordinance would be to delete within section 6, delete in its entirety subsection G, non-conforming uses.
Have a second on that? Thank you, Ms. Wackler.
If I might speak to this, again, we already have in our existing code how non-conforming uses are to be addressed. And, you know, this is an area that other council members have identified. Maybe we need to look at it and address it, but we don't need to do it in this proposed ordinance. Let's stick with the basics right now and not get into the detail, because we already have existing detail in our code that addresses these issues.
Ms. Hutchings?
Could we have on the screen what those particular items are that we're deleting?
So within, and it's this is subsection G.
Did not. No, haven't been applied.
It didn't come on the backside.
Go ahead.
I pulled it up.
Mr. Could we bring up the entire ordinance though, because this isn't all of that section. I mean, I guess how it fits in. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
So I'm just going to add in for the audience's clarification. It's section G there that we're looking at removing with this amendment.
Yes, that would, we would propose that it be removed, and we would, again, we already addressed this in our current code.
Everyone had a chance to read that? Any further comments? Ready to vote on the amendment? Okay. Please call a roll call vote on the amendment to eliminate number G, or letter G.
Wackler,
Yes.
Hutchings,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Chilson,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Kincaid. You have 5 yes votes.
The amendment to eliminate G in the ordinance under that section 6 is passed on a 5-0 vote. Any further discussion on ordinance 2025-015? Mr. Chilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know just responding to some of the feedback that we've got on this through email and also in-person comments, and also expanding on discussion we had at our last meeting on this. Some of the concerns that we have heard, I do tend to agree with pertaining to the reconstruction limits and also the abandonment. I believe as the code is currently structured, if a building were to be a total loss and the repair or reconstruction of that exceeded the 50% of the value of the property, it would currently be prohibited from being reconstructed. And I do strongly oppose that, because to the point of the business owners that have spoken here tonight, if you invest in your building and it's a loss, obviously it's really fair to not be allowed to reconstruct that and continue operations in something you've invested yourself into. So to that end, I did want to speak to that point that we can't amend that restriction as part of this ordinance because it's outside the scope of it. That's a separate city section of code. However, I am working on a separate ordinance in collaboration with Councilman Nelson to remove that restriction so that property owners would be protected in the event of a loss and be able to reconstruct their property. Additionally, I think we've heard concerns about the ability to continue to expand the operations and maybe resell them, and concerns about maybe investors not wanting to take those properties, I guess, if they're grandfathered in. I would say that under the current language, my understanding is that if, for example, you have a business that's put up for sale, I think one of the concerns is like, okay, well, with the current abandonment restriction, like you know, potentially if it's abandoned for more than a year, then you're no longer grandfathered in. And the point I raised at the last meeting is like, well, what if you have a business that's for sale and it, you know, some commercial properties can take a long time to sell. Like people shouldn't lose money because now they can't find a seller that wants to operate it as is with the sale concluding within a period of 1 year. So I just wanted to reiterate that based on discussion we had on this last time, that as long as they're actively trying to sell it, I don't believe there is a limit on how long they can continue to sell it, and that grandfathering would continue. So there's not a risk of investment loss there. And then to the point about abandonment, like if they're not trying to sell it, it's just truly abandoned, the language limits that to a 1-year period. Councilman Nelson and I are looking at expanding that to a 3-year period again. And again, trying to sell something doesn't apply to abandonment, but the abandonment portion would be potentially extended from 1 year to 3 years. So we're trying to address these concerns, but they're not something that can be amended to this particular ordinance tonight, but we intend to bring forward an ordinance to loosen those restrictions as soon as we possibly can.
Ms. Hutchings.
So I'll be very honest with you. I'm totally opposed to this rezone. I have a real problem with the fact that we're saying they're grandfathered, but once this passes, then things will start changing. I have to agree, one step at a time, and pretty soon your service station in town that provides you with tons of sales tax. And I'll just give you a little synopsis here. I know how much sales tax we pay to the borough every year, and it averages about $71,000 a year, half of which goes to the city, which helps pay for streets and all of your employees and maintenance and whatever. I will tell you, Napa probably pays about the same. And that service station, because nothing hits $500 when you go through the service station, it's all taxable. I would guarantee you that they're paying a lot more in sales tax to help support the city. That service station has been there for, my goodness, 60, 70 years. I mean, it was a Texaco station 100 years ago. And I have a real problem with that. I also have a problem with us feeling like we can tell property owners what they can do with their property when they have bought that property, they have improved on that property. And just like I asked last time, I said, Odie's is no longer Odie's, and the property owner is looking to sell it. If he wanted to sell it to a veterinarian, this says that they can't have a veterinarian there. It's those little things that I just think that we've really gone out of our way to not look at. We want apartments in this area. So let me tell you, 36 apartments at $30 a month times 12 means that you're going to get $12,960 in sales tax divided by 2. So the city would get $6,480. You can't make up the kind of sales tax that these other businesses are providing to your city by making this apartments, little shops. I mean, little shops are great, but when you have a window of 3 to 4 months for tourism, you're not going to make that kind of money. And I sit here and I look at this and I think it does not make fiscal sense to me to do this. And you put in an apartment on the top floor and below you have a business, a taxidermy shop, because that's approved. I will tell you, I would not want to live above a taxidermy shop at all. And to me, I know everybody hates this word, but to me, it reeks of eminent domain, and I'm just totally opposed to it.
Any other comments from the council? Seeing and hearing none, go ahead, Vice Mayor Parker.
So as I stated at the beginning, the purpose of my amendments was to basically take and eliminate the controversial parts of this ordinance and make it to where we are just looking at land use and the land use. And we're looking at 50 acres adjacent to the Kenai River, which is something that everybody cherishes, not only in this community, in the state, but around the world. And it is, the Riverfront Development Plan is something that I support. I know it is a long-term plan, and in order for the plan to start to come together, first you've got to identify what type of businesses do you want within this area. And that is what is being proposed through this land use that is now the thrust of Ordinance 2025-015. So we have to start somewhere, and I see this as a good starting point. And the other things that need to get addressed, I think we address them one at a time, but not in lumping them all together, because they are definitely complex issues. And I'm going to support the amended ordinance.
Anything else from anyone? Ms. Wackler.
Yeah, this has been a long time. A lot of work has gone into this. But I have to sit back and think about, so much of this stuff is contingent on a lot of things that haven't happened yet. And it's really difficult to look at. Of course, we took out parking, but the idea that we could have limited parking spaces based on available parking that doesn't exist yet, like roadside parking. I think it's a wonderful plan, and I don't know exactly how we get there without doing zoning changes. I do think that it's within our purview to change zoning. That's what a city does with future city planning, and without city planning, you get cities that aren't planned. So I don't think we can just say we don't have the right or ability to change zoning rules, because that's kind of why we're here. But it may be too much too soon all at once. And I do understand what Ms. Parker's trying to do by taking some of the bites out of it. I do hear people, especially landowners in the area, customers, consumers, people in the community, are saying stuff on social media, online, in conversations, that they think that this is going to completely change the landscape of that corridor tomorrow. And we know that that's not true. But it definitely shows me that there's some misunderstanding, and possibly if we move forward on this today, that misunderstanding will continue to exacerbate issues. And if we want public-private partnerships to create more walkable areas in Soldotna, possibly moving forward with this today might inhibit some of that goodwill with landowners and the public. So that's my thought on it.
Mr. Carey.
I am always going to be concerned with those people who have paid taxes on property for maybe many, many years, generations, as compared to looking forward to who might move in there and who might pay taxes on a higher, possibly generating land use. I'm not ready to support this. I've heard from people who live there now, who've lived there, who are opposed to this. And that to me is the stronger voice I want to listen to and want to represent.
Anything else? Mr. Chilson?
We've had a lot of great discussion tonight, and this is certainly a tough issue. I know it's been a marathon getting to this point where we have the decision before us this evening. It is difficult. You know, we hear a lot of feedback, both positive and negative on this one. And to Councilman Wackler's point, I mean, as a city, our responsibility strongly lies with planning for the future and making Soldotna the place that it could, the best place it could possibly be for our residents. And a lot of that comes down to, again, long-term planning. Now, when we look at, as this is envisioned a hub for our community down by the river, there's a lot of potential there, but we don't want to harm people as we work towards that. So I think we have to be very diligent and intentional about how we're getting there. And I think that we have a framework that can help us achieve that. And there's a lot of work that's gone into this, but again, we have to do it in a way that finds, threads that balance. And I think that we are off to a good start with that tonight, with the amendments that Vice Mayor Parker has put forward to remove the more controversial restrictions on this. Again, I wanted to reiterate that I'm actively collaborating with Councilman Nelson to bring forward a companion ordinance this to follow as soon as possible that would remove the 50% reconstruction limit, extend the abandonment language multiple years, and again, just reiterate the fact that the sale of existing businesses that are grandfathered and that continues onward to any person buying the businesses for as long as it would take to potentially sell that. So I think we're making a good faith effort to try to, thread that needle and find compromise with this and protect our existing business owners, but also do it in a way where we can, the comment was made earlier, not take the stick, but the carrot, and just gradually incentivize growth in this direction. Maybe this is a 20, 30-year development plan, but I think it comes down, you have to have a plan, you have to start it somewhere. So I think we're doing the right thing by trying to find that compromise rather than abandoning it. But I just want to thank everyone for the work that went into this tonight.
Anything further? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote on ordinance 2025-015 as amended.
Chilson,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Wackler,
No.
Hutchings,
No.
Carrie,
No?
Kincaid.
Yes.
You have 3 no, 2 yes.
Ordinance 2025-015 fails on a 2 yes and 3 no vote. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is ordinance 2025-017, amending the official zoning map to rezone the 50-acre portion of the Riverfront redevelopment area between the Sterling Highway and Kenai River and the Douthit Veterans Memorial Park Bridge and Birch Street, the Riverfront Mixed Use District, introduced by the city manager. The motion to enact is on the floor from September 10th, 2025 council meeting. And I report from the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The previous ordinance failed, so we respectfully ask that you fail this ordinance. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item, which is ordinance 2025-017? Anyone here in the audience wishing to speak? Seeing none, we will take a look at Zoom, and there are no hands raised there. Having no one else who wishes to speak, the item is back before the council. Are there any council comments? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Oh, never mind. Didn't you have a motion to make on this? Or do we even need that?
It's a moot point now.
Yeah, okay. Call for the vote.
Parker? Chilson?
No.
Hutchings?
No.
Wackler?
No.
Carrie?
No?
Kincaid.
No.
You have 5 yes, 5 no votes.
Ordinance 2025-017 fails on a 0 to 5 vote. Next item on the agenda is new business, and moving right along, a number of those were on the consent agenda. So we are moving right along to mayor and council reports. Mayor's report. Last week, the city manager and Vice Mayor Parker and I attended the AML conference in Juneau. Weather was a little windy and cold until the day we leave when it starts snowing. So quite a time. It was a very good session. Learned a lot. Had a lot of good speakers. A lot of good information was passed around, and heard from various sources. I think it would be fairly safe to say that the plan, the fiscal plan, probably will not pass as introduced, meaning I don't expect to see a sales tax, and that's the impression I got from everyone who spoke there, a state sales tax. Some of the other issues may not, who knows. Had an opportunity this afternoon to attend the chamber joint session, and Clayton Holland, the superintendent of schools, spoke on school funding and other issues, and the budget for the school district looks pretty grim. They're looking at about a $7-8 million deficit right now. Very strong discussions about, well, not very strong. They're already planning on closing the swimming pools on June 30th, I believe it is. And there's talk about having the local cities absorb the cost of running those swimming pools, both in Seward, Homer, Kenai, and Soldotna would be lucky enough to receive 2 of those swimming pools out of the 5. That discussion is ongoing. I think we could safely say that trying to figure out the cost of operating those pools is a real moving target, and I don't think anyone has a real handle on what that is. No one within the school district has been tracking those expenses in a meaningful way that you could say that school, that portion, the swimming pool, cost X amount of money to operate. So It's still an ongoing discussion, but I think I think the school district's pretty firm on planning on and cutting that. A lot of other things have been cut out. A lot of the sports activity, we're not going to be seeing, at least the school sponsoring teams, providing transportation and those type of things. In other organizations I'm involved in, I'm seeing lots of donations coming from those school teams to help fund some of their costs. The field house, here again, I was at that Chamber of Commerce luncheon, and I had someone come up to me, an elderly gentleman, and commented about how happy and proud he is of the field house, that so many things can be done there, from old people like this guy here and down to the little kids that we see running around in the school kindergarten and everything. There's a lot of, in fact, when I arrived there was a lot of strollers coming out of the field house. In fact, there was probably more strollers than old guys like me around. But it's good to see it being used. I think we're going to see a lot more use out of there. I think that's about all I have for tonight. It's a little chilly out there, and it looks like we're going to be getting some wind. So bundle up and keep safe. Council reports on boards and commissions, we have none tonight. And I didn't forget, report from the city manager.
Well, thank you. There is the annual report from all departments in your packet, so please read that and let me know if you have questions. Really proud and pleased of all the work that was accomplished this year. A few other items that I have, keeping you updated on our congressionally designated spending requests. Senator Murkowski's portal closes this Friday, and our lobbyists are submitting our requests. One item that they've combined into one request has to do with our pH control and wastewater treatment plant headworks screw pump project. They're combining into one project, so it'll go into one bucket of funding. And that's, we followed their advice. If that's what they're recommending, they're there and they know the buckets of funding far better than we do. They are also submitting that project to WRDA under the Water Resources Development Act. And there is supposed to be quite a bit of funding coming from the federal level for that program. We'll see. Congressman Begich III's portal has opened and it closes on March 9th, which is quite a bit earlier than last year. And again, our projects will be submitted then. Since the mayor brought it up, I'll also speak to pools. There have been meetings. We receive information that we still would like to verify as being accurate information, and requested additional information. And at this time, we actually don't have a request from the school board at all, or the school board administration either. We do hear rumors that the city is committed to certain levels of funding. We have not. When I have all of the information, my plan is to bring it forward to you as an agenda item so that we can all talk about it and have a position. I don't know when I'll receive the information, but I am seeking to get all of the information. I did want to talk a little bit about zoning, and I did want to let you know that in speaking with Ms. Mitchell, she does have a plan to bring forward some of the topics that we spoke about, including working on non-conforming and also parking, and really addressing a lot of the zoning code to improve upon it and to update it. It's time to update, and we'll be bringing that forward. So, a lot of, as you know, work went into these two ordinances, but it brought out a lot of conversation and highlighted the need to do some updates. So those will come forward at a later date. Another topic I wanted to bring up that we've heard a lot about in our own public here, and really nationally at this point, was the activities of ICE last week. In a very short period of time, I get to learn a lot about ICE and also their activities. We do not have the 287G Pact, which requires an MOA to come forward for the council approval, and it is not coming forward. Our chief was approached by DHS to enter into that pact in March of this year, and I'm sorry, last year, my apologies, and that did not come forward. And we will not be bringing that forward. Also, at one point in time, I believed that the state troopers had the pact. They do not. They have not entered into it. There are only two entities in the state, and that's Department of Corrections and City of Kodiak have that. So no one else does. I've been asked various questions, one being if were to come into City Hall to request water sewer records, will we give them to them? We don't give them to anyone. There's a process for that, records request, blah, blah, blah. If they had a warrant, we do have to comply with a warrant. However, they don't need our records. And I can't ever imagine them asking for records. Similarly, the police department uses, I'm going to go with the systems that I know and the chief can add, what's called the APSN. So if you were pulled over, say that for a traffic stop, you would be run through APSN, and I think it's NCICS, if I'm using that correctly. Okay, great. Which is a national database. You would also be run through that. We've been asked if they belong exclusively to the state and to the police departments with the municipalities within the state. No, they do not. They can be accessed federally. So we don't control those systems, and therefore they can access those systems. There are a couple of other items, but those are probably the biggest. As far as, and if you haven't watched the House Judiciary meeting, I would suggest that. There was a lot of testimony, a lot of great information given by the troopers and by other municipalities regarding their processes, but we're pretty much similar as everyone else as far as a municipality. We can't stop their activities. We have no ability to do that. But they're not going to ask us to comply. One question we've been asked recently of the police department is if there was violence, would the police department respond? Police department responds to all violence. They would get there and assess and go as they normally would in any violent situation, regardless of who it is. We would not stop the police department from responding to violence. I think those are the main questions that I've had so far. More will come up and more are being talked about, but I wanted to let you know what I know so far and what we're doing. And if you have any other questions, please let me know. That's all I have.
Are there any questions for the city manager? Saying no, we'll move on to public comments. Are there any members from the public who would like to speak on any item? Seeing none here in the audience, we'll look at Zoom, and there are no hands raised there. Next item, council comments. Ms. Kincaid.
Yes, unless you wanted to say anything. Okay, great. So everything's kind of slowing down. We're getting into our last quarter of school after spring break. We have a spring concert this Tuesday. I love attending not this Tuesday. Yes, actually, this next Tuesday, March 3rd. I love attending these concerts and I highly recommend going. One thing that we've kind of implemented, I think we started last year, maybe the year before, is our STAR sweepstakes. This is something that we have to kind of bring up attendance in schools and kind of get kids to attend schools. So we have different things that we do to count kids to enter a raffle. So by attendance or by grades, we enter students' names into a raffle and then we draw it at the assembly each quarter. And so that's an exciting thing that we have coming up. As far as different sports we just had ski state. We had some individuals do great. We had our wonderful senior Tania Boonstra. She got third in her 5K classic race, I think. And we had Ollie Dahl, I think, place overall in 12th. He's a sophomore. Our basketball heads up to regions this next week at Wasilla. And next weekend and tomorrow is our senior night for basketball. For our cheer team, they went up to a competition which is called the Top of the World, and they got first in their division for several different things. Our DDF team, Drama, Debate, and Forensics, they have their state that they're heading up to this week, so we wish them luck. And we started this new tradition. I talked about this last meeting. We call it Battle of the Stars, and so we had different classes compete in different games and had a dress-up week just to kind of boost morale during this February season. And it was definitely a lot of fun. And our sophomores won, and our seniors sadly lost because it was all based on attendance and people being there in the middle of the day. That is all I have, and thank you guys.
Vice Mayor Parker.
Thank you to the city manager and her team. I very much appreciate the annual report and reading through what all of the departments have done. And we are very fortunate to have such a wonderful team here at the city of Soldotna. So thank you for that. And to everyone who came to testify tonight or submitted comments, thank you so much for coming. We very much like having the public come and participate. So thank you.
Ms. Hutchings.
Well, I know it's been a long and onerous step that we tried to take, and I just think it was too much too soon. I think we have too many property owners. I had so many emails from people that live in the area, and I saw lots of emails from people that lived out of the area. The ones that don't live in the area were all for the Riverfront development, but the people that actually live in it and own property in it were not pleased with it. So I hope however we achieve our goal, that it's more equitable. And I think the first thing we need to do is do something about parking. We have a major parking issue. And with that, enjoy the cold. It's going to be 13 below tonight.
Ms. Wackler.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody who worked on this, and I know it didn't pass, but I don't think that that work has disappeared. I think we can implement some of these ideas and continue on this path. I hope, I know we can't bring the whole thing back up, but I do think that we can definitely guide this process over the next 30 to 50 years, which is what this is, a plan to develop this area well, and I think in a good way that helps all our citizens and landowners. And I think we can make that whole corridor amazing with business, public-private partnerships. I would love to see that developed, but yeah, I was unable to move forward as it is today. I also really giant shift here, and I'm going to try not. Soldotna lost a child. I didn't know him well, but we lost a student at So High. And it went without a whole lot of fanfare. He had his funeral a couple weeks ago, and I just want to remind everybody that we've got students dealing with a lot of stuff. And talk to your kids. Just talk to them. Be a voice. Be a safe place. Be a sounding board to your peers. Make sure that someone out there knows that you can talk to them. So sorry to end on a bad note. It's just rolling around in my head. As soon as she started talking about So High students, it's a really hard time for kids right now. So, sorry. Thank you.
Mr. Carey.
Today was a very productive meeting time, and I appreciate the work done by many people. I would like to see us offer more than just 2 mini grants. We had very good presentations, and we had very good options. We did our necessary duty in terms of choosing the top two, but I certainly would like to have seen us maybe go a little bit further, and so I'd like to see us consider that. 25 years ago, while sitting this table, we discussed whether or not we should be compliant with the request by the federal government to know what books everyone in our community read, what videos everyone watched. Was it the role of the federal government to know what's going on in our minds and to judge us based on what's going on in our minds? We as a council, and as the mayor at that time, we said we would not supply the information. The federal government came to our library and said we wanted the records of who's reading what and who's watching what. We wouldn't supply them. It didn't come to that publicly. And so again, I think we all want to be very watchful of what's going on and how the government is governing. Third, on the area of what the schools are going to have to do and reading what Anchorage has decided. And, you know, I'd sure like to see us revisit our definition of schools, in that we're calling things extracurricular, and in doing that, we are discarding them as not valid or required. I see that the attitude that, as the philosophy is in this country, that we should teach as if every student is going to college, and that should be our goal, I think is very misplaced today. The activities and the extracurricular activities that are offered is very much as important as what we call the academics. Problem solving, thinking skills, friendship, socialization, those things are taught and learned and developed in those types of activities. It is critically important. I don't think people understand what would happen if they drop sports and activities from our high schools. I think attendance would be radically affected. And so again, just as we move forward, and again, no question the school district and the borough is going to have to make some tough decisions in terms of what's going to go on, but I sure want to, I want to be a voice very much for every child in our schools, so that we provide things that meet their needs and their interests and their learning styles. There are many different ways that people learn. And again, saying that everyone should simply be aimed at college and all classes should be aimed at that curricular pathway, I don't think is valid. It was interesting listening about our investments. The idea that a city this size, and it's wonderful in terms of, it shows the past diligence and frugalness and planning, the idea of almost $20 million in investments that we have now set aside, from which we help fund every year's budget. That's a wonderful thing. And again, I hope that we'll have a fuller discussion of whether or not that's the best use for those $20 million of funds paid in the past by those people who lived here, who bought things here from sales tax as well as property tax. And so today, the things that we discussed since we came in for the work session and then through this council meeting. The last thing I just want to mention, part of what is critically important about American democracy is how much we care about the decisions we make. Today we made some decisions, and there's no question people's hearts were somewhat torn in terms of maybe some decisions we made. That shows how important it is, how important it is to have people come to our meetings, and again, how important it is that people run for office. We need, again, good, strong people running, and we need people paying attention to what's going on. I'm very proud to be part of the city council of this city and all of the staff work that's done, particularly during times of inclement weather. Thank you.
Mr. Jolson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Try typically not to diverge off into national issues, but this week, I'm sure we all saw the news where these are beginning to become prominent in our own community. And we saw a family that was recently removed. This particular instance, I think, brought forward a lot of concern, and I share that as well, especially when you look at the impact and potential trauma on a 5-year-old child that, from his perspective, who has no decision-making in this process, spent most of his life here in Soldotna, and the very next day is living in Tijuana, Mexico. There was a community meeting that was held shortly after that I got invited to attend that I joined in, and I can say there's definitely a lot of fear and anger in the community resolving around this. I do appreciate all the insight that I was able to relay on behalf of the city on that one and kind of alleviate concerns about city's involvement in that, and basically assure people that we wholly respect the delineation and effective use of local resources for local issues. As our job as a city is not to get involved in this. We are to allocate resources for the benefit of the city of Soldotna, focusing on local issues. This is well outside the purview of the city of Soldotna, and we can assure our residents that it's not something that we are facilitating. And I think that was deeply appreciated.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is executive sessions, and we have no need for one tonight. And the next item is pending legislations, and we have ordinance 2025-039, which is postponed until the April 22nd, 2026 meeting. Meeting announcements, March 4th, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 5:30 p.m. The March 11th, 2026 City Council meeting has been canceled. March 19th, 2026 Airport Commission meeting at 5:30 p.m. and March 25th, 2026 City Council meeting at 5:30 p.m. Having nothing further on our agenda, we are adjourned.